What did the woman write to her late husband more than 400 years ago, and why did she make him sandals from her hair? What did Dr. Gotfried Nox ask to do with his living body before his death? The Aztec children, Maximo and Bartola. Who are they, and why did the kings meet with them? Where did their gods come from to the Egyptians? I'll answer these questions and others in this video. Hi friend, you are on the KirTop channel. Egg with runny white and yolk. In Britain, archaeologists have discovered a unique chicken egg from the era of the Roman Empire, preserved with liquid contents. The discovery was made in Buckinghamshire, along with other artifacts along a Roman road, suggesting the site was used for ritual offerings. Of the 4 eggs found, only 1 remained intact, containing liquid, probably a mixture of yolk and white. The discovery provides new evidence about ancient agriculture in the region. According to archaeologists from the Natural History Museum, this is the oldest known surviving bird egg. Ancient ruler's cup. In 2014, archaeologists in Athens made a surprising discovery. A wine goblet broken into 12 pieces which scientists believe belonged to Pericles, the legendary Athenian leader whose reign marked the golden age for Athens. This historical artifact is now kept in the Epigraphic Museum of the city. The most intriguing thing about this find is the inscription that includes the names of 7 men, including Pericles and, presumably, his brother Ariphron. The inscriptions engraved on the bowl became visible only after a certain inspection of the artifact. The name Ariphron, standing next to the name of Pericles, indicates a deep connection between these figures. It is believed that the cup was used during Pericles' youth at a wine symposium, where participants traditionally had their names engraved as a sign of remembrance of the fellowship. The find provides a unique insight into the culture and customs of ancient Greek society, allowing us to look into the past and feel the connection of times. The largest meteorite on Earth. The mysteries of space have always excited minds, and meteorites serve as evidence of mysterious visits from deep space to Earth. An example of such an incredible visitor is the Goblet meteorite, discovered in Namibia, which to this day inspires admiration for its size and history. Unlike the Tunguska meteorite, which left many questions and assumptions, Goblet is tangible evidence of space travel to our planet. Weighing 60 tons, this gigantic piece of metal, decorated with ancient rust, today flaunts the amphitheater built especially for it and is one of Namibia's main attractions. The history of the discovery of the meteorite began in 1918 when farmer Jacobus Brits, plowing the ground, came across an unusual block. First trying to uproot it and then carefully examining it, Brits discovered that in front of him was an iron meteorite, the composition of which was later determined to be 81% iron and 17% nickel. This find became a sensation because at that time little was known about meteorites and the farmer dreamed of a big jackpot. The issues of transporting the huge space guest turned out to be so complicated that the sale had to be forgotten. Since then, the Goblet meteorite, whose weight has been reduced to 63 tons over time due to chemical erosion and vandalism, has been protected and recognized as a national monument. Today, Goblet not only surprises with its size, but is also a living lesson in history and astronomy, reminding us of how small and at the same time important we are in this vast universe. And although tourists continue to leave their marks on it, every scratch is quickly hidden under a layer of rust, as if nature itself is erasing the boundaries between the earthly and the cosmic. Giant from the USA. At the end of the 19th century, deep in the dense forests of North America near a small settlement that is today known as the Black Hills, South Dakota, a discovery occurred that shocked the scientific world of the time. A local forester walking along his usual routes came across an unusually large stone protruding from the ground. He was surprised by its size and unusual shape and decided to invite a group of archaeologists from a nearby university. When archaeologists began excavating, they discovered that the stone was actually part of a giant stone sarcophagus. Inside, they found the well-preserved remains of a man whose height exceeded 3 meters. This discovery caused much controversy among scientists of the time, some of whom argued that the find could shed light on the existence of ancient giants mentioned in the legends and myths of many cultures around the world. Despite significant interest from the scientific community, much of the information about the find and the object itself have been lost over time. Only a couple of photographs taken during the excavations and a few entries in the personal diaries of the expedition members have remained to this day. These photographs, although not very clear due to the limitations of technology at the time, show the enormous size of the skeleton compared to the people who excavated it. Rich in history and mystery, the Black Hills continue to attract explorers and adventurers eager to uncover the secrets of ancient civilizations and perhaps find lost archaeological treasures. Thus, the story of the archaeological discovery of an ancient giant man remains one of the most mysterious and unsolved pages in the history of archaeology. Crocodiles and Christian churches. Imagine, you enter a church and there is a crocodile there. Sounds like the start of a joke, right? However, this is a real story because the medieval temples of Europe were actually decorated with stuffed animals of these reptiles. The crocodile settled in the Seville Cathedral back in the 13th century thanks to King Alfonso X, who received it as a gift from the Egyptian emir. After the reptile died, its skin was stretched over a wooden base and hung from the ceiling of the cathedral. In Italy, in the sanctuary of the Blessed Virgin Mary of Mercy in KirTop, a crocodile hangs, reminiscent of the proximity of evil for 5 centuries. And in the chapel of the Virgin Mary in Macerata, there is another one, according to different versions, brought by the Crusaders or which came to the city itself in 1589. The Church of St. Mary in Ponte Nossa has preserved a crocodile skin since 1594, despite orders to remove it. And 40 kilometers from St. Petersburg in Oranienbaum, priest Oleg Emelianenko in the Church of St. Spiridon set up a real zoo where Nile crocodiles live, among other animals. Thus, stuffed crocodiles in churches are not a myth, but part of a religious and cultural tradition reflecting historical connections and beliefs of past centuries. Artifact in the form of a cobra. Archaeologists have discovered a 4,000-year-old artifact representing a figurine of a snake that was likely used in ancient rituals. The discovery was made by a team of researchers from the National Tsinghua University in Taiwan in a sand dune in the northwest of the island, an area with a rich archaeological past. It is assumed that this figurine, made in the form of a snake, could serve as the handle of a ceramic vessel intended for ritual purposes. Associate professor at the Tsinghua Institute of Anthropology, Hung Lin Chiu, noted that the figurine resembles a cobra with a raised head and characteristic folds on the neck, which makes it a unique evidence of cult practices of antiquity. Snakes, a frequent symbol in religion and mythology, have been associated with the cycle of life and death, symbolizing creation and transition. Scientists suggest that the snake handle could decorate a sacrificial vessel, actively used in ritual rites by ancient priests. Janus in gold. Under the ground of Krakow's Wawel Castle, archaeologists discovered an amazing artifact, a gold ring from the 11th to 12th centuries with a two-faced design, unique in Polish history. Unlike typical Christian symbols of the era, the decor of the double-faced ring may indicate a connection with Janus, the Roman god of beginnings and transitions, who has no analogues in Greek mythology. This rare find demonstrates the high level of craftsmanship of its creators. The ring, which has a thickness of 1.5 millimeters, a diameter of 4 millimeters, and a circumference of 57 millimeters, is distinguished by its intricate decoration. This makes it exceptional among other early medieval jewelry found in Poland, which was usually either unadorned or had simple geometric designs. Researcher Jerzy Trzebinski emphasizes the uniqueness of the ring, suggesting that it could have been made by local craftsmen and may have belonged to the upper echelon of society during the Piast dynasty. The ring was found in the basement of the Danish Tower, built by order of Vladislav II Jagiello during the era of reconstruction of the castle. Ancient Roman giant. In an area near Rome, archaeologists have discovered a unique ancient human skeleton with gigantism. With a height of 202 centimeters, the man stood out among his 3rd century contemporaries, where the average height was about 167 centimeters. Gigantism is an extremely rare phenomenon, affecting approximately 3 people in a million, and is associated with the dysfunction of the pituitary gland in childhood. Previously, partial skeletons had been found in Poland and Egypt, presumably indicating gigantism, but the Roman find was the first confirmed case from antiquity. The skeleton was found in 1991 during excavations of the necropolis in Fidena under the administration of Rome. The archaeological team immediately noted the unusual length of the tomb, and later research confirmed the features of the bones. The The researchers found skull lesions consistent with a pituitary tumor, as well as disproportionately long limbs and evidence of bone growth in early adulthood. The early death of a man, presumably between 16 and 20 years of age, may indicate problems associated with gigantism. The skeleton was found without funeral items, and its burial did not differ from the traditions of that time, which indicates its acceptance by society. The symbolism of this find underscores the interest of Roman high society in people with physical abnormalities. Burials of people with dogs and horses. In the vicinity of Verona, Italy, archaeologists have discovered ancient burial grounds where people were buried along with animals dating back to the pre-Roman period. The study, published in PLOS 1, found that in addition to food animals, the remains of dogs and horses were found in the graves, which is a rarity in archaeology, and raises interest in understanding the meaning of these burials. Of the 161 burials examined in the necropolis near Verona, dating back to the late Iron Age, every 10th contained animals. In 4 cases, the remains of dogs and horses were found that were not intended for food, which became especially significant for scientists. Attempts to link human and animal remains through demographic and genetic data have been unsuccessful, showing that the buried humans and animals were not related. The burials ranged from an infant buried with a dog to adults with the remains of horses. This diversity opens the door to different interpretations and speculation about the symbolic meaning of dogs and horses in ancient cultures, as well as possible unknown burial rituals. Rock Chronicle spanning 100 generations. Scientists from Argentina have discovered that ancient cave paintings in Patagonia are much older than previously thought. Using radiocarbon dating, the cave paintings were found to date back to around 6,200 BC during the late Holocene era, predating previous estimates by thousands of years. This underground gallery contains 895 unique images, grouped into 446 thematic groups. The study found that the cave was used as a site for the transmission of knowledge between hundreds of generations of hunter-gatherers who overcame the challenges of the harsh climate of ancient Patagonia by sharing information through rock art. Log coffin culture. An ancient legacy left by a culture that flourished in northwestern Thailand is surprising archaeologists with its unique burial customs. Some 40 burial sites where people found their final rest in teak coffins decorated with intricate designs testify to a highly developed Iron Age culture. Researchers from Germany and Thailand analyzed the DNA of ancient people to uncover connections between different communities. Between 2300 and 1000 BC, a mysterious culture flourished in Mae Hong Son province. DNA analysis of 33 ancient people from 5 coffins found that genetic relatedness played a key role in burial traditions, highlighting the importance of family ties in choosing a burial site. The study was a breakthrough in Southeast Asian archaeology, providing the first analysis of genetic and cultural relationships at the level of ancient communities. Despite the difficulty of preserving DNA in tropical climates, scientists have identified 2 major genetic lineages linked to agriculture, indicating deep connections to the Yangtze and Yellow River valleys in China. A couple from the United States with a strange story. In 1875, in downtown Philadelphia, in an old cemetery, workers discovered the mummified bodies of a man and a woman believed to have died in 1792, although this information was later refuted. No records of the Ellenbogen family or other documents confirming their existence have been found. The bodies went through a process of saponification, becoming soap mummies due to the specific burial conditions, where the fat was converted into a soap mass, slowing decomposition. The man, who was more saponified than the woman, and the woman with vestiges of blonde hair on her head, presumably died at a later date than originally thought, which was confirmed by the discovery of round-headed pins, the technology of which did not emerge until 1824. The man was likely a manual laborer and had healthy bones but degenerative changes in the cervical spine. Both had preserved internal organs, but the man had poor oral hygiene, resulting in most of his teeth falling out during his lifetime. The woman died at about 30 years old and had health problems including ureteral and gallstones and vascular calcification. The soap lady is now on display at the Mutter Museum, and the soap man is in storage at the Smithsonian Natural History Museum, where scientists are studying them to try to uncover the mysteries of their lives and deaths. Oldest bead in America. An archaeological team from the University of Wyoming found the oldest known bead in North America at the ancient mammoth site La Prairie in Converse County, USA. At this site, there are traces of an ancient hunting camp and the remains of a young Columbian mammoth. The research, published in the journal Scientific Reports, revealed the discovery of a Clovis bead made from the bones of a hare. This object, 7 millimeters long and 1.6 millimeters wide, probably served as a decorative ornament for clothing. The bead is polished, has smoothed edges, and is covered with red ochre. There are grooves on the outside of the bead indicating that it was made using stones or teeth. To determine the origin of the bone material, scientists from the University of Washington conducted a mass spectrometric analysis of collagen. Analysis confirmed that the material was either a metapodium or a proximal phalanx of a hare. This discovery provided the first conclusive evidence of the use of hares during the Clovis era, dating back approximately 12,000 years ago. The Clovis era is noted for the discovery of distinctive stone tools named after the Clovis Archaeological site in New Mexico. A letter to a loved one, written 440 years ago. While renovating an ancient cemetery in Andong, South Korea in 1998, archaeologists discovered the 16th century coffin of Yun Tai of the Goseong Yi clan, where they found the mummified remains of a 30-year-old aristocrat. Inside the coffin was a leather bag with documents, including a touching letter from the deceased's pregnant wife. She addressed her deceased husband and the father of their unborn child. Next to the man's head lay sandals woven from hemp and his wife's hair, which was a symbol of love and hope for healing. The sandals were accompanied by a note from his wife saying that she had woven them from her hair before he could wear them. The find was the first archaeological confirmation of the Korean tradition of making shoes from human hair, mentioned in literature as an expression of deep affection. Where did the ancient Egyptians' gods come from? Ancient Egypt continues to excite the minds of scientists with its secrets, one of which is the country of Punt. Unlike the mythical Atlantis and Agartha, Punt was a very real place, located somewhere in eastern Africa. The Egyptians sent trading expeditions there, bringing back goods that one could only dream of: precious trees, gold, ivory, and aromatic resins. The first mention of Punt dates back to the 26th century BC, during the time of Pharaoh Cheops. Expeditions continued for centuries, bringing untold riches to Egypt. An important step was the construction of a canal connecting the Nile and the Red Sea under Pharaoh Senusret III, which simplified the route to Punt. The exact location of Punt is still a matter of debate among scholars. There is an assumption that it was located in the area of modern Somalia, Djibouti, Eritrea, and Sudan, and could also cover the territory as far as southern Africa. Some researchers believe that Egyptian sailors could even reach the Cape of Good Hope. Legends and myths about Punt have been preserved in Egyptian culture as the homeland of the gods and ancestors of the Egyptians. The last known expedition to Punt was undertaken under Pharaoh Ramses III. After this, travel to the land of wealth ceased and Punt gradually turned into a legend. Today, archaeological research in Punt is complicated by the political situation in the region, making it one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the ancient world. Relations between Egypt and Punt, as far as we know, have always remained peaceful, which is a unique fact in the history of interaction between ancient civilizations. Punt's trace still lives on in the name of the autonomous region of Somalia, Puntland. The strange desires of Dr. Gotfried Nox. Sometimes there is only a thin line between the greatness of the mind and the borders of madness. It seems that talent is clearly not enough to bring brilliant ideas to life. It takes something more, like a unique way of thinking. Here's a story to prove it. In 1813, Gotfried Nox was born in Halberstadt, Germany, who became famous thanks to his unique invention, a special embalming fluid with which he was able to mummify dozens of bodies, including his own. Having moved from Germany to Venezuela in 1840, Canoche settled in La Guaira in the north of the country, where he soon became part of the local community and founded the Hospital of San Juan de Dios. During his years of work from 1854 to 1856, he gained a reputation as a do-gooder, selflessly caring for the poor and fighting cholera that was ravaging the region. Nox was distinguished by his burning interest not only in life but also in the aesthetics of death. He was obsessed with the idea of circumventing the inevitable decomposition of bodies after death and began experimenting with unused bodies, a practice that went far beyond the usual medical research of the time. As a result of Nox's efforts, a liquid formula was developed that allows bodies to be preserved unchanged. Anticipating his own death, Nox made sure that his assistant Amelie Weissman, whom the locals called the Witch of Avila, prepared the liquid for his body. There is a legend that he even asked her to inject the serum into his living body before imprisoning himself in the mausoleum forever. Over time, the Noche Mausoleum and his Buena Vista estate turned into ruins, but they still keep the secrets of their mummified inhabitants, including famous personalities of Venezuela. This place attracts both medical students and adventurers, although the very composition of Noche's embalming fluid remains unknown. This story reminds us how a great mind can lead to unusual, sometimes frightening discoveries. Where do you think the line between genius and madness lies? Share your thoughts in the comments. Aztec children Maximo and Bartola. Mysterious pages of history have always attracted people, and the ancient Aztec civilization is no exception. It was this interest that one inventive manager decided to take advantage of, creating an unusual hoax that first attracted attention in 1848. The story of Maximo and Bartola, brother and sister from El Salvador, has captivated the world. Their uniqueness lay not only in their rare disease, microcephaly, but also in the way they were presented to the public. Finding themselves in the hands of American manager Morris after a series of deceptions and machinations, their lives become a performance. Morris created a fascinating story about children allegedly found in a lost Aztec temple and presented them as the last descendants of a sacred race. By dressing them in costumes with Aztec symbols and giving public performances, he was able to convince the public of their unusual origins. Interest in these Aztec children was enormous not only among ordinary viewers, but also in the scientific community, because at that time the world was gripped by the fever of searching for ancient civilizations. Maximo and Bartola became stars, studied by scientists, met with presidents and kings, and traveled the world attracting admiration and controversy. But like all miracles, their glory faded over time. Attempts to revive interest in 1867 in London were unsuccessful, and gradually Maximo and Bartola faded from public view. Despite the unknown fate in their final years, the story of these amazing individuals remains a shining example of how human imagination and thirst for knowledge can create unique stories. I'll ask you a question. Do you think a similar story could happen today, and what would be the reaction of the public and the scientific community? In order not to interrupt your study of the ancient world, I recommend that you watch the previous video about the possible connection between aliens and the ancient Egyptians, how they were connected, and what evidence scientists demonstrate today. Thanks for your views. See you in the next video.